Welcome, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Goodman, Director of Marketing and Development for the YMCA of Northwest Louisiana. We're here at 318 Latino Studios for Shreveport-Bossier, my city, my community, my home. And we have a really special discussion today. I have two guests. I have Commissioner Stormy Gage-Watts and I have Captain LaTienda Pierre. Thank y'all both so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. All right. So, Commissioner, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
And for both of you, because you're both expert in everything we're going to discuss, and I'm not. So if I get anything incorrect, please correct me. But Commissioner, let's start with you. You serve as the chair of the Juvenile Justice Committee.
Yes.
So my first question is just, how often does this committee meet? And can you share some of the issues you're currently discussing?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing us to be here and share with you today about what we're doing in our community. We really appreciate what you're doing by providing all of this information to our citizens. The Juvenile Justice Committee meetings or the ad hoc committees of the Caddo Parish Commission, and they're made up of commissioners, at least 5 of us, sometimes 7, that are on the committee, and we meet at least monthly to discuss our juvenile offenders, whatever preventative measures that are in place. We talk with the department heads, and we collaborate with a lot of other wraparound services.
Okay, and give me just maybe a key topic right now that maybe is being discussed in committee.
Always one of the key topics are that we are always looking for initiatives that are preventative instead of intervening. My goal has always been to prevent children from even having to be a part of the system. So one of the key issues that we're discussing right now is a youth council. We've learned by traveling to other places, youth councils are very imperative to the success of our counties and our parishes. Of course, we're very unique here, right? And we know some of the unique challenges that juveniles face in our area. So we know to bring them to the table, to be a part of our policies, to be a part of the decision making that we are making on their behalf, is to have them at the table. So we are creating a youth council for Caddo Parish.
And tell me a little more about that, if you can, just what ages will be represented, how many, how will you go about determining who's part of it and those kind of things? Absolutely.
It's so exciting because the way the bylaws are written, that it will be up to 50 youth across Caddo Parish. And they will be selected from our area high schools. Each commissioner will be a part of the selection process. There is no certain criteria. We wanted to make sure that we didn't disenfranchise anybody from being a part of this initiative. So that will include those students who may not excel, in their grades. Those would be those students who may be, borderline of becoming a troubled child. They will also have a part in this initiative. It'll be a very great thing for our community because the parents will be there. They'll be sworn in. They'll be just like, junior commissioners. So they'll have very important roles, not just being a part of the policy making, but also of the other things that we do to roll up our sleeves in the community. Those events that we host, they'll be a part of that, and they'll have their own little badges and just be a part of what we're doing right here in Caddo Parish.
It's so important. That's something we've never had before, right? This will be a brand new initiative.
It will. And we hope by January to roll it out, and the program will run from September to May.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, I look forward to, I know you'll make it happen. I look forward to hearing more about that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, Captain. Well, I'm going to shift to you for a second. It was recently announced that you'll serve, and I may get this wrong, so if I do, please clarify, but it was recently announced that you'll serve as the captain of community programs for Sheriff Whitehorn. I keep getting correct. I know people call him Chief Whitehorn too, but he is a sheriff, so I got to refer to him as Sheriff Whitehorn. Yes. Can you tell me about this new role of yours and some of the responsibilities associated with it?
All right. So first things first, as captain of the newly formed, and actually it changed from community programs and it's now Community Relations and Crime Prevention Division. And so some of the things that are different between community programs and the Community Relations and Crime Prevention Division is the makeup of the different sections that are a part of the division. So the old community programs format had a captain, a lieutenant, a sergeant, and then there were 2 other staff members that were part of that, and they were responsible for the bulk of community programs that were done throughout the parish. However, in this new lineup that makes up the new division, we now have the school resource officers, the DARE officers, Safety Town, and crime victim reparations, which is actually the only section from the original lineup that still remains. And so with this new combination of sections, you are getting those who are experts in the prevention side of crime. Usually when our deputies are showing up to a call or even when they're working out in corrections, that's intervention. Mm-hmm. So prevention has to be getting to people before there's even an issue and building those relationships that is necessary. And so with the addition of the different sections that we have, you now have a situation where we have individuals who can actually enter into a child's life and be a part of their trust network, their network of people, their village, and they can actually start from pre-K and all the way up to 12th grade, because all our school resource officers are now in every high school in Caddo Parish. Our DARE officers are responsible for teaching the DARE curriculum starting from pre-K to 5th grade.
And tell them, because you defined it for me off camera before we started, what DARE stands for
DARE,
people like me who weren't exactly sure about it.
DARE stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education, and actually DARE has been around since 1981. It started in Los Angeles, California. So the curriculum that is assigned to the DARE program actually extends that we have a elementary, a middle, and a high school curriculum as well. And so also with our Safety Town, they focus on our second graders, teaching them different safety lessons. And so we are expanding the role to make sure that we are working and we are part of a child's network all the way starting from pre-K to 12th grade, because when we talk about how do you prevent, especially in the area of juvenile crimes, it is being able to broker those relationships with law enforcement where when they see us in the uniform, they're so comfortable and used to us as their help network that we can be there to help educate and guide them on how to be safe and productive citizens.
And I've done a little work in this area over the last couple of years. And I mean, I think most people, they hear prevention, they think, okay, prevention is safer than intervention because we prevented something from happening. What I learned that was so interesting to me was that it's not only does prevention create a safer community, but it also in the long run is much more cost efficient than intervention.
Absolutely.
Do either of you want to talk at all about that and why that may be? Because it may not be evident to everyone out there listening.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I think that it's always cheaper to pay for it on the front end than the back end. For us at Caddo Parish Commission, we have every year, we have a deficit of $4 million of our juvenile justice system. So that lets you know that we have an $8 million budget for juveniles, and those are for offenses. If we could use those dollars towards preventative measures, then not only could we close that gap, but we'll also be providing a very vital resource back into our community, because we're producing better children, better citizens, so that they would not only just survive, but thrive in these times.
And so the $8 million is going towards running
the juvenile is going towards running juvenile services.
That's how much it costs annually for
Absolutely,
Caddo Parish.
Million. But we only have, now we're operating that budget on a 1957 millage. And that's a very important discussion, because can you imagine operating your household on a 1957 salary?
No.
It's unimaginable, but that is exactly what we're doing at Caddo Parish Commission through our juvenile services, because we've never had the opportunity to roll taxes forward, nor been able to get a millage pass to support that.
And so when you say you have a deficit, so you have $4 million in the budget every year to operate,
Correct.
But it's costing you $8 million
Right.
every year.
And so we have to pull, resources from other funds, like criminal justice. And, we have other dedicated funds that are only dedicated for that specific area. And our All in Trust, that fund is, depleting quickly because we're constantly pulling from it.
Okay. Fascinating.
Yes.
All right. And I know I'm going to get this wrong, but Commissioner, this is for you. Okay. So you recently attended what I thought was the North Carolina Rehabilitation Reentry Conference, but you'll correct me. My question is, can you tell me about this conference and just some of the key takeaways for you?
Yes, and it's okay because not only was it a NACO conference and it was held in Tampa, Florida, but the very special guest was from North Carolina. So you got a portion of it right, okay?
Perfect.
And so he's a sheriff that has worked throughout the states, but he is now in North Carolina and he's making a difference. I mean, when I say an impact that can never be erased, one of my key takeaways was having that conversation with him after the event. I could not wait to contact Sheriff Whitehorn. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I'm getting so excited. And the excitement for me was because I actually introduced an initiative for a reentry program. Back in 2018, we had the state on board and it was for women. Being a woman myself, I saw the need there for a reentry program for women. There was things that were dedicated.
Let me interrupt one sec. For
Sure.
people like Dare, for people who are listening going, reentry, what is that? So just explain for the layperson when you say reentry, what exactly you're talking about.
So once a person is incarcerated and there are rehabilitation programs that are available to them, the whole goal is to rehabilitate them right back into their citizenship, back into being citizens here in Caddo Parish. The reentry part is to provide them a trade, something that they can do to deter them from whatever that they were doing that was illegal, whether it be drugs, or human trafficking, for God's sake, so many things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, but to teach you a better way of living. So a reentry program will upgird that person and give them an opportunity, if it's to start a business for themselves. And that's one of the things that I really loved about the program that I learned through NACO, was that there were programs that were available to them, that they worked with other partners like Lowe's and Home Depot, and they actually received certificates. They had license for their businesses. They had interviews on site. They were not dressed, in their detainees' clothes, or they were dressed as you and I would be if we were going for an interview. And they provided everything that they needed for them.
And this is while they're incarcerated. They're learning these skills while they're being incarcerated.
Absolutely.
So that when the time for them to be released comes,
right,
they're ready to enter the workforce.
Absolutely. And that's the goal, is because if you want to do anything to reduce recidivism, you have to have a plan in place. And I am very excited to work with our new administration at the Sheriff Department. He does have a plan and he has goals, and that is what we need to be able to work together.
And tell me, you shared a stat before we started.
Yeah.
Tell me that stat that you learned while you were at the conference.
So their recidivism rate was about 85% in North Carolina. Through this new initiative, through this program, this reentry program, they are now at 39% recidivism rate.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is, absolutely.
And most people listening know what recidivism is, but just to define it, recidivism is simply, I think, returning back to incarceration once you've been released.
Correct. And that is one of the things that we are challenged with here. It's not your first time meeting When you have an offender, and I know that, LaTienda can place a lot of emphasis on that. But that's the thing. And it's the reason behind it, though. It's more than just, I want to come back to jail. It's what is the underlying cause.
Right.
And most of it is going to be because of unemployment or not being educated enough. You don't have the skills that you need. And trades are here for you. We have all type of technical schools right here in our area. We have, junior colleges. We have a system. Southern University is a system right here in Shreveport. So it's our job to find the way to make sure that citizens have what they need to succeed.
So this legislation or this idea that you had in 2018 that you introduced that didn't actually materialize, is that something that's being revisited?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We are definitely going to revisit it and reintroduce it.
Okay, great.
Yes.
All right, Captain. So we've mentioned Sheriff Whitehorn a little bit. I think he's only about 90 days into his service, but is there anything you can share at this point just about his basic priorities as he begins his long sheriff's administration?
Well, from where I'm at, one of his top priorities is definitely reducing youth crimes and putting efforts into making sure that for our youth that they find viability in this parish as they live, grow up, get their education, and that they see themselves returning into the parish to be a part of and be productive in society. And so in order to do that, that is one of the things that we continue to focus on, is establishing programs that not only are about safety education, but also can introduce civics, that can also introduce opportunities of career outlooks that can be right here in Caddo Parish. Because one of the things, unfortunately, that contributes to the decline in any population anywhere is at the top. When people see high crime rates, they do not want to move into communities that therefore you got businesses that do not want to invest. And then for families, or for those who are trying to start families, then they think about, okay, the quality of the schools, the education, is my child going to feel safe in these schools? So all that starts to come together. And so at the top, I just got through the other day, along with my Sergeant Lifford Jackson, getting ready to present a proposal and then moving forward with the green light from the sheriff, because he gave the green light to start bringing back the Explorer program, which was actually originally in the 1980s. The Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office had a program in place known as the Explorer program that allowed for kids that were between the ages of about 13 to 18 to explore a career in law enforcement. However, over time, it dissolved and it had not been brought back until now. And so Sheriff Whitehorn is very passionate about bringing back the Explorer program. So we are going to be definitely working with the commission along with others to begin to bring this program back full. And as it comes back, it will allow for kids starting at the age of 13 to start to look at law enforcement and the vast careers that they can get out of entering into that career, and utilizing the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office as a way to start teaching them different things, but also providing that civics education. How do they be a productive member of society, whether it is voting, whether it is being involved in other aspects of it too. So that's one of the things at the top of the list. And then also reviewing existing programs that might need revamping to bring up to speed, and then also introducing newer programs that help to specifically address and are data driven to make sure that we are going to those specific areas that are causing juvenile crime and addressing them, instead of trying to do a overall broad blanket style program that might not actually address something that is specific. Because while one area we might not see our youth being involved in that, we might see other areas where that crime rate is growing up, because that's an issue there.
And when I hear about the Explorers program, tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I kind of think it's a win-win in a number of areas. One, provides a potential pathway for our youth and a place for them to potentially plug into and go and work. But also we have a deficit right now, I think, at both the parish level and the city level in terms of law enforcement. So this potentially helps to maybe turn that around too.
Correct. And one of the things about the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office altogether is that you can actually enter in at 18 doing different selective jobs and make a full lucrative career out of that organization because of the benefits and the different incentives that come with being a part of the sheriff's office. And so to borrow off of how LSU's theme is, you can stay close but go far. It's the same thing, same concept, that you can come gainfully employed with the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office when you reach that age, and you can still stay near but still go far in having a great career path. Which is another win-win-win, because we do struggle at keeping our young people here. So Absolutely. It also enables us to maybe do a better job at that as well.
Right.
Okay. All right. So my next few questions are for either or both of you. You guys just handle them how you want. But my first one is, I know we're having trouble with overcrowding at CCC. So just my question is, how's treatment and reentry going? And is that an area we could continue to improve upon? Okay, well, starting out first, one of the things is, as we get ready to go back into work release, and Sheriff Whitehorn has talked increasingly about the return of the work release program and its significant impact. And then also, let me stop you one sec. So just like we've kind of define reentry, just for people listening, define what work release is exactly for those who may not understand it. Well, when we have someone that's coming close to the end of their sentencing term, and they can be eligible for what is called a work release program, which means that they can actually start being employed with a company, business, even before being released. Of course, there are terms of how they are to operate in the capacity, but it is actually a good way to make sure that when they are finally released and they have completed their sentence, that they are gainfully employed, because most of our organizations and businesses that worked with work release when it was viable, they ended up fully hiring after these individuals will finish with their term. So we want to make sure that we're doing our part, that as someone is re-entering back in society, not only are they receiving resources that will be able to help them be viable and live daily, but also, if we can, making sure that they're gainfully employed. Let me interrupt one sec. So, and I didn't even know this until I was preparing for today's discussion, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, but it's my understanding that our work release program was kind of shelved for a number of years due to COVID, which makes a lot of sense, but I never even considered it until I was preparing. And that's why it's just getting restarted now. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay. Okay. Were you saying anything else there? Sorry. No, that is everything as far as it goes. So we're working with the dual combination of reentry and now adding back the component of work release to be able to make sure that we're doing all we can on that side to start reducing that jail population. And then on the other end is making sure that we're doing those preventive measures, getting out in the communities ahead of time so we can cut off at the pass those who might be in a situation where they could be thinking of a life of crime, and being able to make sure we are doing those deterrents in place to stop that. So a super basic summary of what you just said, but the way that I process it is, we're gonna do a better job on prevention, so we're gonna keep people from coming in the first place, and then we're gonna do a better job on reentry and work release, and so we're gonna keep people from returning. Correct. Okay.
It is. And I think that Sheriff Whitehorn really, like you mentioned in the beginning, for him to be in office less than 100 days, I think he's made a meaningful impact on reducing those numbers already. And today, just having a press conference a few hours ago with all of the law enforcement, including the DA, the sheriff, as well as the chief of police, the mayor of Shreveport, the commission, we were there, as well as the U.S. Attorney General. When you use all of those law enforcement to address a situation like violent crime, it actually produces the results in what you're looking for. And I know that that is going to be a great way to keep those numbers at a level that not only will the sheriff be happy with, but the deputies, the staff, even the citizens will feel safer because they know that those initiatives are working.
And it's amazing. I mean, the more I do this work, do this podcast, I feel like, the secret to so many of the issues that we struggle with is just collaboration. And I think everything you're talking about is a prime example of what can come from collaboration, and B, communication.
Absolutely.
Collaborate more. This is our community.
Right.
We're all in this together, and communicate more so that we know what each other's doing, so that we're maybe not duplicating those efforts, and we're able to leverage all the efforts and all the work that is currently in place.
I couldn't agree more.
That's right.
It's very important for us to communicate. We were talking earlier saying that there were so many resources that are available that we were not aware of, and we're just working in silos and we're providing this, but so is Jeffrey, and so we learned how to bring all of those people to the table. It wasn't an afterthought. We made sure from the beginning, every agency that's a part of this community is sitting at the table to help write this plan.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just you need leadership who is open to that. And I think we see that, it seems Mayor Arsenault has kind of led with that. It seems that Sheriff Whitehorn has led with that. And we're seeing that across our community in so many different places, just people saying, we know we have a lot to address and to deal with. Let's be open to working together to figure this out.
I couldn't agree more. And this plan that we're talking about right now actually began with the prior administration with Mayor Perkins and well as Chief Wayne Smith, because this was his idea to bring everybody to the table. With all of the years of experience definitely matters. He knew that we needed to collaborate. And this needed to be a community effort. Right. We all want to see violent crimes reduced. We know that there is nothing that we could do to eradicate crime completely from the face of the earth. We understand that, but we do know that there are proven methods that work. When we travel to other places and we're able to bring back things and twerk them some and say, I can make this work here in Caddo Parish. Right. And you can also see what's not working. You can always go and say, okay, well, that's not working. I definitely know that won't work, for my parish, but it's an opportunity for growth in it.
I think that's so important. That's the other piece, or yet another piece I didn't mention. I mean, you have collaboration, you have communication, but you also have willingness to sort of look beyond and see what everyone else is doing and learn from that and take from that. And it's important, I think, to have people to travel and see what other communities are doing to address similar issues.
Absolutely. And I must mention I hate to start calling names. So we talked about this earlier, because once you start calling names, you're going to forget someone. But he was Director Clay Walker then. And now, of course, he's the Assistant Administrator for Caddo Parish. But his passion is still there. I love it when we have our Juvenile Justice meetings and he's just waiting. And I'm like, Clay, please just go ahead and jump in, because it's like you just want to just jump in and, and give us, the information that we need, the details that we just may be missing. He was the one who made sure he got with the Shreveport Bossier Chamber of Commerce and said, hey, I know exactly what we need to do.
That's right.
Because we have so many ideas that are laying at the table. And his goal has always been, to keep those numbers at our juvenile justice, because he understands it's a direct pipeline.
It is.
If you can keep those numbers down, we can keep CCC numbers down. You will never see CCC if you never see the juvenile justice system.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And huge fan of Clay's, as you know.
Yeah.
And he's been a major guide and educator for me. So
Yes, he's instrumental in everything. I thought about Doug Dominic, just listening, just looking at some of the things that we've done through juvenile justice. And when I came on and how he just kind of put me under his wings and he was like, oh, you need to have juvenile justice. This is definitely for you. A mother of 3 boys, you really understand what's going on, in tune with the community. But it's people like those people who understand that sometimes you don't have to throw out your old room because you have a new one. You can use them both. Right. But those new ideas, collaborating with those older ideas are what makes the difference.
Absolutely. All right. So my next question is also for people listening that don't necessarily make the connection. Both of you represent Caddo Parish.
Right.
There's Caddo Parish Commission. There's Caddo Sheriff's Office. There's City of Shreveport, led by Mayor Arsenault, and then there's Shreveport Police, led by Captain Wayne Smith. So my question is, how are you working with the city, both of you, and your divisions, in terms of combating the issue of crime we continue to face?
So one of the things that has been occurring is these meetings to go over a strategic plan to address violent crime. And when we're looking at that strategic plan, it is very clear that everybody has a role that they're going to play, that you have to have buy-in and cooperation and collaboration with someone else in order to make your point actually work. And so that's what I love about where we are at, is that we're now in a season and a cycle where everybody is understanding that, you know what, I do need this person. This is how I need this agency or this organization, because in order for me to do this over here, I'm going to need this person over here. So what I have found very interesting is you could have 3 meetings in 1 week, and you're walking in the room, and it's like, didn't I just see you in another meeting and stuff? And that's because we're all understanding the puzzle is coming together, and this is my piece. Come here, put this piece down. So that's what's been happening. We're on the same trajectory with a strategic plan to address.
And that's amazing what you just said. And so do a lot of these meetings include both city officials and parish officials? Are y'all in rooms together often now?
Very often, very often. And there was a grant that we applied for. It was about $800,000, which I kind of alluded to earlier, about traveling and going and, getting these initiatives and implementing them here. And there has been an additional request for $500,000 to keep this strategic plan in place and continue, to develop it.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I love all that. All right. So for people who are listening today and say, I want to live in a safer city, my question for both of you is, any recommendations you have for how our citizens who aren't currently involved but who are concerned about crime, how can they get more involved as a concerned community member?
Well, one of the things that we're doing on our end is you have the Community Relations Crime Prevention Division, which we are the Community-Oriented Policing Bureau for the Sheriff's Office, Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office. Then you also have the Community-Oriented Policing Bureau that's for Shreveport City Police. And so with both of those entities, we're actually starting to do a lot of cross collaboration too. And among that is being able to put forth different type of programmings and different type of opportunities for citizens to actually work side by side with us to be able to keep their neighborhoods and communities safe. And, for example, on our end, by next year, we will be bringing back Citizens Academy. We also are upping our auxiliary deputies, which are volunteer people who want to be out and help in different aspects, volunteer for different things in our community. So we're doing on our end those different things. Also teaching Neighborhood Watch, how to establish Neighborhood Watch back in place. And so making sure that we are brokering a relationship where we're starting to get into the neighborhood associations, getting involved with different activities that are going to allow for people to actually have a side-by-side relationship in helping to bring crime down and keep communities safe. We've got to get back to neighbors being neighbors and looking out for each other. But that's going to take someone having to step in and make sure we're educating people on how in the 21st century neighbors be neighbors without it creating some dynamics that could be on the dangerous side.
And this is kind of a stupid question, but how important of a role, how much difference can a concerned community member make when it comes to prevention? Like, they can make a significant difference?
Oh, yes. Especially, for example, some of the common calls that our patrol officers will get is a strange person has came to this person's house. I know they're out of town, and they can give the description. They can give everything that officer needs to be able to, when they make contact, be able to ask the right questions, make sure that they're safe. And it gets to the point where there's phone numbers called. All those different things are in place. And so that can keep potentials for a dangerous situation where someone could come back to a broken in home or worse, someone stand at the house ready to ambush them. So neighbors, really looking out for neighbors has been a tremendous help. And so we want to make sure that we continue on the pathway, because that is definitely a crime prevention that is a golden thing to have.
And I hate to ask this question, but it just popped in my head, so I have to ask it. So for people who are listening who say, I want to be a good neighbor, but I'm scared if I help that something may result from my being involved.
And that's why we always have those anonymous tip lines.
Absolutely.
That's why we always have in place the various organizations that are at the table that you can call instead. And we know how to step in and just intervene and not tell them where the information has come from, especially like October is on the way. And October is actually Domestic Violence Awareness Month. That's one of those areas where we will see oftentimes people have a fear to say something because of the endangerment of not only the person who's experiencing the abuse, but also those who might try to help what could be dangerous for them. And so that month, you're going to see multiple organizations that work together all the way from the commission down to the sheriff's office. We're going to be out in the communities educating about the safest ways to help in prevention of that particular type of crime, because unfortunately the state of Louisiana, we rank in the top 5 in violent crimes that deal with matters of the heart. And so, we have to definitely do those type of initiatives to make sure people can come forward with information if they see something like that happen.
And not to put you on the spot, but is there an easy anonymous number that you can share?
Yes, indeed.
What is it? Is it Crime Stoppers? We don't want your name, just your information. We'll do that shot for them for free, right?
Yes, indeed.
But we can use our phones right now.
Correct.
There's an app that you can actually go on through Crime Stoppers and report that suspicious person or suspicious activity. And so I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that is one of the tools that we use in our communities, because neighborhood watches are so different now. And it's so important. You could not place more emphasis that's already been placed on saying that, you need to know your neighbors. You need to know if your neighbor's out of town. I drove up last week personally, and I knew my neighbor called me and said, I'm out of town, get my mail, do whatever. And there was a U-Haul truck in her yard. So she had came back, but she didn't tell me that she was back and she was bringing some stuff back. So just those little nuggets can be all the difference that we need in our communities just by communicating. For me as a young woman, we knew everybody on our block. You knew them, you knew what time they went to work, what time they came home, who the children were. But I can personally say for a while, we were all, we were neighbors, but you didn't know who your neighbors were.
Right.
We became more distant. And that's when crime really seeped into our communities, because we stopped communicating.
Love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. And I know we got here a little bit, but I know there's been some talk around the revitalization of the work release program. Is there anything else that we should talk
Well, I think, LaTienda, you said that there was some new people that will be over there, and I think it's advantageous for her to place emphasis on that.
So we do have a team in place that are going to be spearheading the return of the work release program. And so you have Assistant Chief Dashae Darby. She is at that helm of the leader of it. And then we also have Director Aaron Cornelius, as well as Captain Gil Rohrback. Those are our subject matter experts that will be heading up and helping to make sure that we look at different work release initiatives. And so for the Sheriff's Office, as it starts to process, those be the people that you'll definitely be reaching out to, and they'll be more than happy to, talk about the progress that's being done.
And I'm going to be advocating for cosmetology and culinary, because those are two initiatives that I saw that really works in North Carolina. And I think it helps to describe our unique culture here also.
Absolutely. In terms of work release opportunities.
Yes, and the reentry programs.
Okay, fantastic. Those are my formal set questions that I told y'all. This is fascinating. As I told y'all before we started, we have all the time in the world. Those were just kind of the questions that jumped off the page at me. Are there other things that we should mention relative to today's discussion, or is there anything else you want to say?
Yes, I would definitely add that National Night Out is happening Tuesday, October 1st, in the Moortown community in District 7. We'll be hosting, along with Winfield Funeral Home, Morning Star Missionary Baptist Church, Calumet, K-Ham. We've got a lot of sponsors, and Caddo Parish Commission will be there, and inviting the public to come out to meet your elected officials, to meet your officers. Their officers will be there, and we're excited. We'll have some displays from the fire department, the police department, and that is a place that you can get a lot of resources that you may not know that are available to you.
Wonderful.
So we
and
want
that's
you to
probably
come out.
happening in
It's
a lot of
happening all over
neighborhoods.
Shreveport,
Right.
Caddo Parish, with Caddo Parish being the third largest municipality in Louisiana. We're kind of like everywhere. So just to be in the inner part of Shreveport is where my heart is for this initiative.
And probably a great way to meet your neighbors as well, right?
Absolutely. And it will be to meet your neighbors in a fun and relaxed environment. That's because there'll be food and inflatables, dancing, DJs, as well as those resources.
Fantastic. Anything else, y'all?
And we'll be out there also ourselves, going to multiple different spots to visit for National Night Out. In addition to that, one of the things that the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office is doing is making sure we update our website, as well as making sure we're staying current on our social media. We will have a calendar that will be a real-time calendar that'll be able to start helping to advertise our programs, different things that we have that will actually have access for those who want to sign up for the programs, inquire. It'll be a more fast track and a more easier process to make sure that we're registering people for the different programs that we have in the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office, as well as sharing with them about events that we'll be at, different things we're doing out in the community to make sure we're working on crime prevention efforts.
Well, I can tell you, listening to both of you, learning more about the different efforts that are underway and all the work and communication that's taking place, I'm very encouraged that we're not going to solve this tomorrow, but we're trending definitely in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And we've got the right team in place to tackle this, and we just need to keep going, right?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank y'all so much for being here. I so appreciate it. And not more than you being here, I just so appreciate what you're doing for us.
Thank you.